Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Liverpool. Now, you guys will have noticed that I missed the Everton game, and honestly, I just couldn't bring myself to talk about that game. It was horrible on so many levels, be it the way we played, the opponents we lost to, the fact that I hate Richarlison and he was the one that scored the first goal, and it was just many things that were bad, and I kind of like, you know what, I'll just end up ranting for 15 minutes and saying something that I'll probably regret, so I decided to skip that. But fortunately for me, this time round it was a slightly better game in terms of the way we played, the performance, the result, and not that I don't want to talk about our lows. We've had many of those so far this season, but this was a game where there was a lot more positives to take out of it, and I think things that we'll learn from and take not only into the next immediate game, which is against Chelsea, which is huge in terms of our ability to get in the top four this season. I'll talk a little bit about that later on in this episode, but also just to that process of healing our confidence and healing the wounds that have just opened up and continue to grow over the past couple of months. But before going into the game, obviously during the week, after the Everton game, we had what seemed like just a series of bad news. We saw some positive stuff on social media of Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez back in their individual trainings, but we obviously had the bad news that Henderson had to have yet another piece of surgery, and he'll be out for probably 6 weeks, but often is the case with any type of surgery that it's probably longer than that, and he'll be thinking about his Euros as well. But then also the sad news about Alisson Becker's father passing away in Brazil as well, which, with Klopp's mother passing away and then Alisson's father passing away, that stuff affects both the players and the team as well. When it's someone that close, and especially given all of the circumstances that are going around in the world at the moment, that's really, really tough to take for anybody. And it was just kind of yet another piece of very sad news that ultimately felt like it could impact and derail the football side of things, which isn't important in the grand scheme of things, but for the purposes of this episode and for the purposes of kind of what we're talking about and Liverpool FC, the football is the most important bit. Going into the game, then obviously with those injuries and slight changes, we had a couple of changes into the team. Nat Phillips coming in and partnering Ozan Kabak at centre-back. And I've got to say, I've been loving the Nat Phillips skinhead look. I feel like he's got that, I don't know, it just gives that kind of rugged, I'm going to get stuck in for the rest of the season and do a job for my team look. Love it. With Kabak in centre-back and then Adrian in goal coming in for Alisson. And then in the midfield, it was a kind of a mixture of trust in Gini Wijnaldum in that position, a mixture of Curtis Jones, of that young inexperience, but also kind of his courage, how well he's played for us this season, rewarding that. And then it was the kind of a slight anomaly of Thiago in terms of what he might bring to the team in the midfield as well. And then up front was obviously the front three. And I think the first half started... the first half evolved in a very strange way, I thought up until about 35 minutes, we actually had more of the chances. Bobby Firmino had a chance he should have taken. Mo Salah had a chance he should have taken. But we never felt like we were properly controlling the game. Now, that changed a little bit towards the end of the first half, but it felt like Sheffield United were always in the game, and they had a chance towards the beginning of the game, probably before we had any of our chances as well, that Adrian saved well. But they looked threatening as well. Ollie McBurney looked threatening. McGoldrick looked threatening as well. Particularly, Ollie McBurney was really latching onto Kabak. He knew that he could probably get a lot more out of Kabak than he could from Nat Phillips, particularly aerially. But yeah, we never looked like we were creating the odd chance, but we never looked like we were kind of just dominating the game. And this is where I was probably a little bit frustrated with Wijnaldum and Thiago, where it was a game where, this team has lost so many games this season. It was an opportunity for us, even though we were playing away from home, to really get on the ball, take our time, dominate the ball, and it felt like we didn't do that. And it's something that I thought we could have done better in the first half. Obviously, we could have taken our chances and scored 1, 2, if not even 3 goals. That would have obviously been the ideal. But I think just getting our foot on the ball and dictating the pace of the game would have helped us a lot more in the first half to stifle and stop those possible attacks and chances for Sheffield United. And inevitably, when you play like that over a period of time, you're constantly, minute by minute, as the defending team are kind of shifting around and moving side to side, you continue to demoralize them. And that's when mistakes start creeping in, and errors, and that's when your opportunities to score really crop up. But we went into halftime 0-0. I think we were obviously probably the more unhappy team going into halftime, given the chances we had. The Firmino one was ridiculous, and he also had the other chance where he kind of almost seemed like he had the goal gaping at him, but he decided to try and cut the ball back to Sadio Mane. And I saw something on Twitter which was fantastic, which was someone saying it was almost like Bobby Firmino was playing as if he was trying to complete a FIFA objective, in that he was trying to cut the ball back into Sadio Mane for the easier goal, whereas probably should have gone and shot himself. And that's one thing that we've seen probably was more evident in this game than anything else around Roberto Firmino's finishing. He's got many skills, but finishing doesn't seem to be one of them, which is kind of strange. He seems to fluff his lines more often than not, and I don't know whether that's due to just lack of confidence and not being in those positions frequently enough, or whether it's his finishing is just not so good. We've seen some fantastic finishes from him over the years, and so he has it in his locker, which for me kind of makes me think it's more of a confidence thing than anything else. But hopefully now, with the goal he got the goal he got in the second half, and I think in terms of the way the team are looking at it, they're treating it like his goal, whereas I think the Premier League is seeing that as an own goal. But yeah, as I said, going into half time, I think we were probably the more unhappy team. Sheffield United were probably happy it was still 0-0, and Chris Wilder would have been saying to the players, look, stay in the game. They're not ahead yet. It's still 0-0. We'll continue to make a couple of chances. Don't make any mistakes, and something might fall our way. We might bully the defenders or something like that. But the great thing was the fact that we came out, particularly in the second half, right at the beginning, and we carried on with the intensity we were showing. It would have been very easy for us to kind of let off and go, okay, fine, we need to build again and maybe repeat some of those mistakes we made at the beginning of the first half where we weren't dominating. But we were able to really push up high and put some concerted pressure right from the beginning of the second half, which ultimately is what led to the goal. Great little cross by Trent, and as soon as they started looking at the VAR with the ball possibly going over the line, you were like, oh no, here we go again. Just when we needed a goal, something was going to come out of nowhere and pluck one away for us. But fortunately for us this time, things went our way, and he was able to cut the ball back, and Curtis Jones with a very nice finish, just side-footed it in to the corner. A keeper, no chance. Aaron Ramsdale had a very, very good first half, made some fantastic saves. And that was a really, really breakthrough moment, because Sheffield United were defending with 5 back. They were pretty resolute in their defending. Phil Jagielka, an experienced head in there, Marshall in the defence. And one of the things I was really thinking about was actually Sheffield United is probably a very good opponent to play before the game we have against Chelsea on Thursday. And the reason I say that is because of the formations they play are fairly similar, particularly the back. Maybe up front it's a little bit more fluid for Chelsea, but particularly with the back 5. I actually think that's very similar to the way Chelsea play, and it was kind of good playing Sheffield United because a slightly weaker team but playing a similar system. Klopp and the players were able to understand what worked well, what maybe didn't work so well against that system, and so that when we play Chelsea on Thursday, hopefully we can take some of those learnings from that game and apply them there and hopefully do better against Chelsea. So I think that's a real positive just from the way that the fixtures have panned out. But hopefully we can take some of that learning, because in the second half particularly, we did dominate the ball a lot more. We dominated it higher up the pitch, which inevitably means that you're closer to the goal, and therefore you're going to get more opportunities for strikes and goal. Any errors you capitalise on, you'll be closer to goal, all that type of stuff. All of that flows off just being further higher up the pitch. And after that, I think the first goal, killed Sheffield United a little bit. I think... as I said, the message at halftime would have been stay in the game, we'll nick something late. That's pretty much been the template for how the lower teams have played us this season so far, and the ones that have been successful. But that goal at the beginning of the second half, I think really was a sucker punch to them. And after that, you really saw us controlling the ball and doing what I think we should have been doing in the first half anyway. But then after that, we were able to, as I said, control the ball and make a few more chances. We had a goal with Mane, who was offside, correctly called offside, no issues with there. But then Bobby Firmino got his goal, or not his goal, with the deflected shot, which went off O'Brien, I think his name is. and Aaron Ramsdale had no chance. But yeah, as I said before, it was yet another chance where you saw and Bobby Firmino, the ball was going so wide. It wasn't even close. It was going incredibly wide, but he was just fortunate enough. And after that second goal, which I think he deserved, I actually think Firmino had a good game in total. He's shown glimpses, and I think the frustrating thing about all of this is that we've shown glimpses throughout this run that maybe we're exiting the run. The West Ham game was a good example. The Tottenham game was a good example, but we've always reverted back to, losing games that we possibly shouldn't when one thing or another hasn't gone our way. And so hopefully this time something's different, and we really are learning from our experiences over the past couple of months, and that the Chelsea game is a continued step in the right direction for us, looking up the table rather than just further defeats and looking over our shoulder to Everton and the rest of the teams that are below us in the league. I think for me, once we scored the second goal, the game was over. I think Sheffield United knew that, we knew that, and it kind of just became a coasting process through that. I think my man of the match for the game has to be Curtis Jones. I think he was the right. I think we had a good experience and good blend of players in that midfield that started for the opponent. I think Gini Wijnaldum and Thiago were good enough in kind of stopping things from a defensive standpoint. And it allowed Curtis Jones particularly to break forward more. He was dribbling with the ball, which is always great to see because he is a really, really good dribbler of the ball. And, he obviously got his goal as well. He made a couple of chances. And all-round play, I think he was just really, really good. And then finally, to end out the episode, we do the shout-out to Klopp. And I think the shout-out to Klopp is what I echoed just a few minutes ago, which is take the learnings from playing against a 5-back team into the Chelsea game. So I think in particular I liked with Curtis Jones really kind of going up and kind of joining the attackers, and if not sometimes making runs beyond the attackers, just helps give the three defenders a little bit more of a challenge. And when you have the fullbacks that push up, which they naturally push up, it allows then the attackers, so Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, to come inside, and then we've essentially got three attackers up against three defenders, plus it allows the fullbacks to really push back the wing backs of the opposition. Again, Hudson-Odoi and Marcus Alonso or Chilwell will be forced back as a result of that, which really gives us essentially 5 attacking players. And then when you got the likes of Curtis Jones and Thiago on the edge of the box picking up the pieces when balls go into the box and when balls get played around, and Gini Wijnaldum cleaning up the pieces as well, it really helps us recycle the ball and keep that focus and keep that intensity and pressure on the opposition, which ultimately will lead to chances and hopefully goals. But that's it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. We're back again on Thursday for the Chelsea game. Another huge game in our quest to try and finish the top 4. But make sure to subscribe, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, and follow if you're listening to this on any podcast app. But thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.